Recently, I was, caught in this controversy where one of the guests on my podcast said that you need 40 crores to retire by the time you're 60.
I can come up with 100 crore number and make this video also viral.
We have with us Dr. Pattabiraman. He is the founder of Freefincal. He is an associate professor at IIT Madras. He has authored 3 personal finance books. But more importantly, he is, according to me, one of the wisest voices in the personal finance space. For people who are new investors, for 2 years seeing no returns in your portfolio can be pretty scary. So what is your advice to them?
If your need is far away, this is the best time to invest. Money that you don't need immediately for the next about 10 years. On the other hand, if you want money in the next 2 years, next 3 years, then you have no business to be in equity.
Is it possible for someone to build generational wealth for themselves using mutual funds?
That's tough. You know how that's possible?
If someone is building a portfolio today in 2026, what would your ideal portfolio construct be?
I would say the simplest way to build a portfolio would be to have 50 to 60% of an Indian index fund. That can be a Nifty 100, Nifty 500. The biggest advantage is that this portfolio needs no maintenance.
So for someone who has a 1 lakh rupee per month expense, right, and living in a tier 1 city with, say, kids, what should their corpus look like by the time they retire?
So it'll be like...
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of The Money Mindset. Now, today on the show, I have someone who I have been waiting to talk to for the longest time and someone who needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. We have with us Dr. Pattabiraman, who is also very fondly known as Professor Pattu. He is the founder of Freefincal. He is an associate professor at IIT Madras. He has authored 3 personal finance books. But more importantly, he is, according to me, one of the wisest voices in the personal finance space, someone who has been an advocate of financial literacy and personal finance for the longest time. Professor Pattu, thank you so much for taking the time out for our show today.
Thank you. Great pleasure to be here with you.
So, I don't think we have ever met personally, and I don't think we have spoken as well. It's just been back and forth on chat. And but I must tell you that I have been following your work, all of the calculators that you have on Freefincal. And for anyone who is even remotely interested in personal finance, I think the work that you've been doing is remarkable. So first of all, thank you so much and congratulations on the amazing work that you've been doing all these years.
Thank you. That's very generous. Thank you.
So, the reason I invited you on the show is because I want to talk to you not just about why personal finance is so important, but also because recently, I was, caught in this controversy where one of the guests on my podcast said that you need 40 crores for someone who's living in a tier 1 city, who is 40 years of age and has 2 lakh rupees per month as expenses. You need 40 crores to retire by the time you're 60. So that got a lot of, backlash, brickbats, hate, rightfully so. It caused a lot of fear in people. For someone like you who's always had a very sane voice in retirement, do you think that that fear is legitimate? Is it a real number? How did you read into it?
So first of all, I must thank you for that episode because that took the heat off me because that became viral. A week prior to that, I had said in an interview that you need 10 crores for retirement. Excuse me, you need 10 crores for retirement. And for that, I got a lot of stick. People said, no, this guy is, the same kind of comments that you got for the 40 crores, I got for the 10 crore. But the once the 40 crore came, my thing got subdued, and so I should first thank you for that. The thing is that I think I'm astonished. See, I was contacted by Zerodha to do a series of retirement planning, seminars. I thought it's 2026. Everybody knows what retirement planning is. I don't think you need to even talk about it. I think people should know because I know young kids have started asking me about retirement planning in their early 20s, less than 25 kids. So I thought, why do it? But when these 2 incidents happened, and I was taken aback by the kind of, innumeracy or how people don't understand how numbers work, how basic inflation, how inflation impacts your lifestyle. They don't understand this. See, it's not about how many crores you need. It's what are your inputs and what are your assumptions, right? So I just made a video or I talked about it. So if I have just 1 crore corpus, just 1 crore. That's the minimum for being a crorepati, right? And the thing is that if that's my retirement corpus, what can be my lifestyle? And it's about 25K a month. About 25K a month. If your lifestyle is more than 25K a month, I'm talking about somebody who's retiring. I'm not talking about a young guy, right? Who's about 55-ish now and retiring with just 1 CR in hand, then they cannot spend more than 25K a month. If they are going to do that, then they are better off by just taking the entire 1 crore and putting it into an FD or buying an annuity policy and getting 6% or 6.5% interest and be happy with it. When I say this only 25K, the biggest criticism I get is just put it in an FD. Your principal is safe. But what is the point of that 1 CR being safe when you can't fight inflation? See, for the first 10 years in retirement, you'll be happy. You will get your nice 30,000, 35,000. You'll get more than what you're spending probably for the first 10 years. But after that, in your second decade of retirement, that's when the inflation will really start to bite. And that's where you can't fight inflation. So if you want to fight inflation, then the corpus will have to erode. That's there's no other way about it. Or the other way is you say, no, I can't take any risk. I'll manage. I'll somehow reduce my lifestyle to handle inflation, adjust inflation, and I'll just put it all into something safe, post office schemes, annuity policies, and just don't take on any capital market risk. So there are not two things about it. If you want to fight inflation, you have to take on at least some capital market risk. So the thing is, it's not some number. The problem is that it's so annoying, and it's old. When you get older, it's really difficult, and you become silent in social media because people comment without understanding context. Context is the first casualty in social media. Nobody understands context, because I can come up with 100 crore number and make this video also viral for the wrong reasons. But it all depends on what's my lifestyle is and what my assumptions are, my inflation assumptions, my return assumptions. So I think people should understand that. And as a thumb rule, I would say use 7% inflation and assume that your expenses will double every 10 years. I'm talking about somebody whose retirement is far away, somebody who's in the 30s, 35. Assume your expenses will double every decade, every 10 years into retirement. And aim to invest at least 50% of your essential expenses. Count your essential expenses today. So remove all expenses for your children, remove all expenses for your parents, your in-laws, remove all your EMIs. Just the two of you or just one of you, who whatever your situation is, whatever your essential expenses is, aim for at least 50%. That's your initial target. If you can aim that, and hopefully your salary will increase, and hopefully your lifestyle will not increase at the same pace, you can somehow manage for retirement. You don't need to get really scared about it, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
If you're saying 50% of your essential expenses should be invested, so if I am living in a tier 1 city and I have 1 lakh rupees expenses per month, you're saying every month 50,000 rupees should go as an investment into the market, right?
Including all employer deductions, employer contributions into your PPF, NPS, everything included. So to your total retirement, that should be the basic goal. Of course, it's a problem for in a city like Mumbai, where the rent is probably the biggest entry in your budget. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to live on rent all your life? Then you must have a little planning. Are you going to buy a house? Where are you going to buy a house? Are you going to shift to the less expensive city down the line? So that kind of planning should be there. Until that plan is really solid and firmed up, at least keep investing.
Fair enough. So for someone who has a 1 lakh rupee per month expense, right, and living in a tier 1 city with, say, kids, where there is school fees also involved, there's rent or EMI, whatever involved, what should they target in terms of how do they plan their retirement? What should their corpus look like by the time they retire?
So let's say essential expenses are 1 lakh, right? And so every 10 years, expect the expense to double. So let's say 20 years to retirement. So 1 lakh a month today. So that's 12 lakhs a year today. After 10 years, it'll become 24 lakhs. And after another 10 years, it'll become 48 lakhs. 48 lakhs is the annual expenses at the time of retirement. into 30. And that would be the amount of crores. So it'd be like 11 crores, about 12 crores, 12-ish crores.
Okay, so that's like
That would be
11th.
minimum. And so that's like a thumb rule. I mean, you have to do a proper calculation, or just ask AI. I mean, don't ask AI. AI is amazing. You can just ask AI. You know, put all your numbers in and give me a plan that will work. No, and explain to me like I'm fine. AI will do it very, very well. And so that's something to get started. And I strongly believe that fear is a very important component in making people act. But fear should not drive you into inaction. You can't scare people so much that they say, "Oh no, my cup is always going to be empty. I might as well stop doing anything." That is the wrong attitude. I mean, okay, it's going to be hard to fill a cup. Let me at least try for filling 75% of the cup. That's the kind of thing. So I think we should have a little bit of hope. My fear is that when I see young people today, they're really scared because of AI. They're scared of all these technological disruptions. They're scared that they will not continue to keep working for the next 30 years. I find that bizarre. Somebody who is 28-ish today is expected to work, whatever, something that he or she loves, business, whatever, salaried, whatever. For the next 20 years or so, they must have some gainful employment. But they're scared now, particularly those in techie jobs. They're scared that AI will completely finish them off.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
But that's a legitimate fear, right? Because of the way AI is taking over. It is a legitimate fear, especially in areas like technology, for example.
Fair enough, fair enough. But
services,
the fear can't be so much that you think that you will never find work again. I mean, the fear that your current job will go at any time is fine. I can accept that. But if you tell yourself the disruption is going to be so heavy that there's no point, you might as well burn your CV. You are never going to need it. I'm going to be out in the street. That's irrational. So that's where probably the blue collar workers are probably a little bit braver and grittier than the white collar workers from that aspect alone. They somehow they can find work. They're sure that they'll do something to find work. Whereas the white collar guys, they're a little bit softer. That's how I feel. I mean, but who am I to comment? People will always say, "Oh, this guy has got a cushy tenure job. He's the one." I agree that the fear is legitimate. I completely hear you, but it can't be so high that you tell yourself that you're never going to find work again. That's too much.
Fair. But these are also hard times. But I also wanted to, talk about that, because I guess a certain part of the fear is also because what's happened in the markets, right? For 2 years consistently, for someone like you and me, perhaps who've been investing for 15, 16 years, 2 years is a small time horizon. But for people who are new investors, for 2 years, seeing no returns in your portfolio can be pretty scary. So what is your advice to them?
Welcome to the markets. That's the only thing you can say. I mean, I have been wishing, I've got a lot of criticism for this because I've been wishing for this to happen for a long while.
Really?
Yes, I've been wishing for a nice sideways market because that's the only way all the young people who entered the markets post COVID, when there was a huge AUM influx, number of demats accounts multiplied, etc., all those guys, they've never had a poor return. The first return that they saw was 90%, and then something everything in double digits. And this is the first time that they're seeing. I mean, a couple of years, it can be like this. It can be like this for a decade. We don't know. So I think, but what I usually tell people is, look, tell yourself, if your need is far away, this is the best time to invest. If your need is far away. But on the other hand, if you want money in the next 2 years, next 3 years, then you have no business to be in equity. It's completely wrong. You can't look at the last 1 year, 2 year excellent returns of the past and say, I'm going to reproduce that in my portfolio for the next 2 years, 3 years. That's nonsense, complete nonsense. You have to only put in money in the capital markets, in the equity markets, or even gold for that matter, money that you don't need immediately for the next few years. Only, I would say, about 10 years is the safe, if you're for an equity heavy portfolio, about 10 years.
Okay. Are you investing? I know that you invest through the SIP route, and I want to talk a little more about that. But in this sideways market, are you using this opportunity to put in some lump sum money to work as well?
Yeah. So See, first of all, I don't like it when people say I have a lump sum to work with. I have spare cash. If you have a lump sum to work with, or if you have spare cash to work with, that means you have not planned properly. Everything should be labeled in your portfolio. Your cash flow is not planned properly. That's why you have something unassigned lying, dangling around somewhere. So you should assign everything. And I invest monthly, but I don't use the SIP route because the amount I put in varies a lot. It fluctuates a lot depending on the expenses I have. So I adjust my monthly investments, but I invest monthly, and I also tell people don't use the SIP. Force yourself to invest every month, because there are people who tell me I have started a 2000 rupee SIP. My job is done. I can enjoy life as a no. It's not. You have to invest more and more. So push yourself to invest more and more manually every month. The mutual fund industry is really unhappy with that kind of suggestion because they're scared that people will run away. Because they want sticky AUM, they want a contract, they want the SIP logged in. I'm saying, look, if you want to prosper, then you have to invest. You can't say I've become disciplined because I've started an SIP. That's not discipline. That's automation, right? SIP is just automation. If you be disciplined, you push yourself to invest as much as possible, and you keep track of your investments. That's how you build wealth regularly. The secret to building wealth is uh, discipline and trying to increase your investments as much as possible. The so-called, I hate to use that word, step up SIP, but that's what resonates with a lot of people. You have to step up your investments.
Fair, fair, fair. I think discipline is hard, especially at a time when, social media, there's a lot of noise. Markets have not done well. Global markets are doing so well. So there's a lot of FOMO as well. So in such a situation, maintaining that disciplined investing is hard, especially for young people who've not seen any major returns.
It's very hard. It's very, very, very hard. I think they have. So that's why I keep telling people, look, all the personal finance questions and answers lie within us. It's completely within us. We have to ask what will work for us, and they find solutions that will work for us instead of asking other people or following other people and doing what they say. And if you do that, and if you keep your goals, first of all, if you must design or define your goals clearly, and once you do that, and if you have your portfolio for that, you don't need to worry about noise. The only way you can ignore noise is when you know your plan is right. Most people don't have that. They don't have a plan to begin with, and that's why they get swayed wherever the wind blows, and that's really sad.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your own portfolio because some very interesting things, I made some notes. What stands out for me is, and of course this is public knowledge, I saw it, you had put it out in some publication earlier. 60% of your investments is in equity mutual funds, and 60% of your portfolio in equity mutual funds is with PPFAS Flexi Cap. This is very interesting to me, especially at a time when the PPFAS Flexi Cap is being questioned for many of their decisions, whether it's holding high cash levels, whether it's getting deep into tech stocks, which have not done well. How do you, as an investor who has such a large exposure here, how do you navigate that?
See, I am a NFO investor in that fund. I've been investing regularly from it's accidental actually. One of my very close friends talked to me about that NFO, and I started to invest in it, and I've held on to it. I really like the fund because they have a very low churn in their portfolio. They don't churn their stocks too much, and most importantly, their downs. I like the downside protection that they provide. They don't fall as much as the market. They may not gain as much when the market moves up, but they definitely don't fall down as much. So that there's a downside protection which has purely by accident given me some outperformance over the Nifty 500 or the Nifty 50, whatever you want to benchmark it against. But I am just too old to do backseat driving. I cannot backseat drive the fund manager. It just doesn't work. I only backseat drive my wife, which she hates, and therefore we never get on together, drive together. But I cannot backseat drive fund managers. That's just silly. If you are going to worry about all these things, about the decisions they make, you are better off with an index fund. you are better off. And I think you can't get baited by all this content or engagement farming, as they call it. People say, oh, this is a new portfolio for the flexi cap fund, they've changed this, they bought more of ITC, more of this, more. I don't care. All I look at is, have they done well? Are they reasonably, keeping close to the benchmark? And over the long term, have my returns been okay? And I just checked it yesterday. It's about 16% since inception. I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that 16% inception. It would have been a little more a couple of years ago, but I'm okay with that.
So you wouldn't be bothered by the fact that, and I'm asking you, this is a personal question, honestly, because I as well have a large chunk there. And sometimes I do get bothered about the fact that, and I've spoken to Rajiv as well multiple times about this, as to how if there's a large sector which has clearly become a laggard, right? Like technology, for example, then putting more money to work there, it troubles me a little bit. Even when they were sitting on cash, when the rest of the market was deploying. Maybe it's too much information. I agree with you, but at what point do you decide that, okay, now this fund has run its course and maybe it's time to look at a new fund with new energy, new, stock choices? I mean, or do you just buy and hold forever?
Oh, I've become, maybe it's just me, I've become tired. I am a strong believer in non-action, which is different from inaction. Inaction is when your portfolio is a mess, your life is directionless, and you have not done anything about it. That's inaction. But non-action is when you've done everything about it, everything is ordered, your goals are achieved, or your goals are in a good place, your goal-based investing is going on fine, you know how your portfolio is doing well, and then you don't want to act on it unnecessarily. I don't think you should act on it unnecessarily. And see, this is the problem with choosing an active fund. If you choose an active fund, you must be prepared to face 2-3 years of poor performance, 2-3 years where the fund manager is not able to beat the market. And if you are not going to accept that, then you're better off being an index investor. See, people always give me this thing saying, some people call me a hypocrite because I recommend investing strongly, especially to young people. But I hold a lot of active funds. But if you look at my portfolio and if you look at the rolling returns of my portfolio, and I published it somewhere, most of the time, my portfolio has underperformed the index. My portfolio of active funds has underperformed the index.
Then why don't you shift to index funds entirely?
I just didn't notice it. When I looked at it in hindsight, I never noticed it. But sometimes when I don't do anything, it just moves. I'm just come to the age where I just wait. If there's a bull market, everything is going to move up. If there's a bear market, most of it is not going to move up. Most of it is going to stay in place. I've come to that stage in life where you just leave it alone. Just wait for things to recover.
Oh, you're not that old. I mean, you can't be using age references so many times.
I'm 51, so compared to a lot of kids I interact with, I am old. So I'm probably I don't know. It's it's a mindset probably more than the biological age. I think I strongly believe that you shouldn't act on everything because you never know. Because I believe that the market will fall only after you start investing, and your fund will start performing only after you move out. So there's this kind of thing. So my point is, that's my point. If you take a firm decision, if you don't like this fund, move out. The problem is most people won't. They will keep the existing holdings as such and only move fresh money into a new fund because they're scared of tax. They don't want to pay the tax. And then what happens is this keeps rinse and repeat. After 10 years, they'll be holding a portfolio of 10, 15 funds.
Correct. I'm guilty of that. I'm also guilty of that because when I was in my active job, I really didn't have too much time. Although I was deep in the market, I didn't have too much time to look at my mutual fund portfolio all the time. So I would be meeting great fund managers and they would tell me, oh, this is an amazing fund, and I would invest there. And this is an amazing fund. You do that in your 20s and in your early 30s as well. But I noticed in your portfolio, and just correct me if I'm wrong, because this could be dated information, 60% of your portfolio is in PPFAS flexi cap, Parag Parekh flexi cap. 20% of your portfolio is in NPS.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
right.
correct?
Approximately. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
This
Now,
NPS is mandatory. It's not a. I'm very anti NPS, but I have a mandatory NPS. So
oh, from your workplace.
that's right. Entirely from the workplace. That's mandatory. So I can't do a thing about it.
I was going to ask you that because it came as a shock to me because I see many drawbacks in NPS. I don't invest in the NPS, but I see many drawbacks, whether it's, the lock-in period, the limited equity exposure. You also have taxation on the pension income and all of that. So from a purely personal finance standpoint, you wouldn't recommend young people get into NPS?
See, the only reason they invest in the NPS is for the tax benefit. That's all. They used to do it before the new tax regime came in. They used to do it for the additional 50K tax saving over and above the 1.5 lakhs of ATC. That was the initial thing. Now most people, are in the NPS because they reduce their take-home pay and the employer is putting some money into the employer contribution. So that employer contribution is still a tax benefit in the new tax regime. So that's the only reason they are in the NPS. They tell themselves they get an instant 30% reward
Tax
by
saving.
tax saving by doing that. But my problem with the NPS is, first of all, it doesn't provide you with a pension.
Yeah,
It just provides you with a corpus.
correct.
It's just a mutual fund which provides you with a corpus. It is up to you to take that money and put it into a life insurer annuity plan. And as of now, as on date, there's no special annuity return for a NPS subscriber. They are working on it. The regulator wants a special annuity rate, but as on date, that's not there. So I might as well invest in a mutual fund or have a stock portfolio. And if I want a pension so badly, I might take it from there and buy the same annuity plan for the same annuity rate. So there's nothing special about the NPS except for its tax saving. So the government wanted it to become popular, so they introduced the tax saving. That's the only reason people invest in the NPS. It's not any logical from a portfolio or a planning perspective at all, which is sad, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, that debate can go on for go on endlessly on another day, perhaps. Okay, got that. Any other active mutual funds that you have in your portfolio, or do you also invest a little bit of it in passive funds? Because I only saw the Parag Parikh fund, but apart from that, do you have other funds as well?
Yeah, I have some old holdings. I have a quantum long-term value fund, which used to be called long-term equity. People have forgotten that used to be once upon a time a darling of DIY investors, but the FlexiCap fund, the PPFAS FlexiCap fund took over that position. These things happen, right? They go in waves. You've seen that happen. I still have those old holdings because at some point I told myself I'm not going to make any more mistakes. I just stopped. So it's just this. My portfolio today is the sum of all my past mistakes. I just stopped making new ones. That's how I view it.
So,
So
if you have to consolidate and tell me 5 mistakes that you made in your personal finance journey that others can avoid, what would it be?
see, I've been really lucky that I've not made any major mistakes that I truly regret about. The one mistake I did was I started late. Starting late was the big mistake. When I was in Switzerland, I used to get a hefty paycheck. I know I was only a PhD student and I used to get paid more than some of the scientists there. And I used to blow it all. I used to go to McDonald's every day and not cook a home meal. I used to blow it all up, have nothing with me. I used to buy big movie books, big pillow. It's just splurge. I used to splurge everything in my 20s. So I started very late, probably 32, 33. That is probably the only thing I regret. Once because I first started making calculators before I started investing seriously. I started making retirement calculators and so on. So I kind of knew how to structure a portfolio from day one. So I did not make any big mistakes after that. It's only the past which still haunts me from time to time.
Okay, starting late was your biggest mistake, I guess. Okay, got that. And you also have 12% of your portfolio in large cap stocks. So is that like you do individual stock picking, or how is that? Because I noticed you don't invest in mid and small cap stocks separately.
No, I don't have mid and small cap funds as well. I'm a big fan of two things. One is large cap oriented portfolio, which which may not give you stellar returns during a bull run, but it will hold you over the long term. And I also like a low volatility as a concept. So I have a index fund, the UTI low volatility index fund. I hold that. I also if you look at my stock portfolio, it's a very very tiny amount. Today it's reduced to about 8 because of all the which is also tech heavy. The stock portfolio is also tech heavy, so it has also come down significantly. So it's about 8.5% of my total mutual fund portfolio. It's a very small amount, and there also everything is low volatile, debt free kind of established companies which give you nice dividends. So I'm using it as a dividend source for the future. That's how I view it.
But wouldn't there be a lot of overlap in your portfolio then? Because there are large cap stocks separately, then there is the flexi cap fund, then in UTI low vol portfolio also there are large cap stocks. So isn't there a lot of overlap?
I've not looked. I'm not looking. Yeah, I don't. I don't really don't care. I mean, I made a tool for people to view their own portfolio, but I've not used it much. It's beyond because these things keep changing, and I cannot control them. Because you can choose unless you are an index investor and you choose a portfolio like Nifty 50 and Nifty Next 50, then you're guaranteed of no overlap. But if you're going to choose active funds, then there will be some overlap at some point because the things are going to change. And I just said enough. I'm not going to look at it.
So is that once you said enough once you hit your retirement target or once you became financially independent? Because I mean, when you see so many products out there and with someone who has deep knowledge in this space, how do you sort of say, okay, now I'm done. Now this is my choice and it's enough. Is it after hitting your target?
Probably. I'm not sure when it happened. See, what has happened to me is, I have evolved as a writer, as an analyst of all these things in a way that once I realized that index funds are very hard to beat, or at least the index is very hard to beat. The index is very hard to beat by most categories. 50% of every category, if you choose a benchmark, a proper enough benchmark, it's very hard to beat that benchmark. Then that completely changed the way in which I look, because I used to be an Excel guy. I used to analyze everything, crunch numbers until it chewed out something, spit out something, Sharpe ratio, this information ratio, this and so on. But then once the indexing hit me, I realized all this is a waste of my time. I'm not going to do too much analysis anymore, because I just become, I have to become, as passive as possible in my portfolio, and also recommend the cheapest option. Because I have had people who are in the industry, who are fund managers in the mutual fund industry, of course I can't name them, as well as abroad, tell me privately that indexing is the way to go.
Yeah, a lot of mutual fund managers say that.
But
in closed doors. Behind closed doors. Yeah.
So that just told me, look, I can't be doing number crunching. And also what scared me was when people started following me and they started taking me a little too seriously than I deserve, then I have to be really careful in what I recommend. I have to give them probably the best option, and I think indexing is the best option. But I can't.
There was one argument that I think one guest made on my podcast. I think it was Vikas Khemani who said it, that index funds were great until we realized that the companies which have started doing really well, they actually move out of the index eventually. So by the time they do very well, they are out of the index. And then, you're not actually getting, and that's why flexi caps and, multi-cap funds and all started doing really well, because the main meat is actually in the non-index large caps. Right, where all the money is being made.
You can choose an all market index fund. You can choose everything in your portfolio. You can choose a Nifty 500. A Nifty 500 has everything except micro caps. It's got everything, and that's enough. So if the mid caps are doing well, the Nifty 500 will also do well. The small caps are doing well, it will do well. But of course, in proportion. So I think, again, that's backseat driving. Once you're an index investor, I think you shouldn't look at the portfolio, because there'll always be some duds. Because, for example, this SpaceX joined an index, and there was a lot of talk about how there's no choice for the fund managers to invest in it and so on. but that's always going to be there. But what matters is over the long term, is the performance with respect to an active fund. It's very, very hard to beat the benchmark. Very hard to beat the benchmark.
Fair point. I agree with you completely. But I'm also a big advocate of small cap funds because I think I have that little aggressive investor in me. So I have a big allocation and it's done well for me. I mean, to be fair, last 3-4 years have been very good for small cap funds.
So just on the topic, I think the active versus passive debate that's there, they're missing the most important thing. See, if you have planned for your goals and if you know what you're doing, where your money is going, and if you know how to review the portfolio, it doesn't matter whether you're an active investor or a passive investor.
Correct.
That's a moot point. Because there are many people who are arguing about active or passive when their financial planning is not done, when they're not done any kind of proper personal finance introspection, what they really want, what their families want, then it's a silly thing. But if you know what you want, and if you appreciate the fact, look, I want a little bit extra, I want to try and search for something that's going to beat the, for example, in the case of small cap index, I think the appropriate benchmark would be the mid cap index. For a small cap fund, the small cap index is easy to beat, right? For a small cap fund, the small cap index is easy to beat. But if you benchmark it against the mid cap index, then things change a little bit. So for me, if you are a small cap, active small cap investor, you have to compare it with the mid cap index. Let's say the mid cap 150, the Nifty mid cap 150, and if that's able to beat it on a regular basis, that's okay. Then I'm okay to invest in the small cap fund. So you must have the correct benchmarks. Even today, people tell me you should not compare a small cap fund with a mid cap index. There may be comments on this as well in this video as well. The point is, I'm not trying to do a PhD here. I've done that mistake once. I'm not going to do it again. I want the best bang for my buck. If my active small cap fund, which is expensive, which are the most expensive funds in the market, if they are not able to beat a mid cap index, then I might as well be a mid cap index investor, right? But if my small cap fund is beating the mid cap, then okay, then I take the gamble and invest in the small cap.
But that you'll know only in hindsight, right? That you'll know. I mean, you'll only know rolling return, 5-year rolling returns.
That's a gamble. That's the risk for the active. That's where the risk is. And you decide whether, for example, if you stay patient with a small cap fund for 2 years, then you ask yourself, is it worth it? Can I move on or should I move on? That's the kind of decision that an active investor should take, but with the understanding and the right benchmarks. They should have the right benchmarks. That's important.
Correct. I also notice in your portfolio, you don't have too much international market exposure except through the PPFAS, Flexi Cap Fund. Now, that's very interesting to me because there's a huge international market wave that has taken place every day. All of these stocks are sitting at fresh highs. There's an AI boom and India has clearly missed out, right? Do you get FOMO?
I don't. That's probably one of my biggest saving features, I would say. I don't get FOMO easily. I probably because I'm tired. I have other priorities. In my case, my health. I've had some health setbacks, and so my health has been the number one priority. So I don't really care as long as my portfolio is doing reasonably well. But for those who have the FOMO, they should ask themselves this question. Okay, I want international equity in my portfolio. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong in it. Can I handle the downside of it? There will be a time when all these stocks will come down, when all these indices have come down. Can I handle that? Will I show the faith like I have now at that point in time? The same argument applies for gold. Look at what happened last year. Last year, July 2025, September 2025, everybody was talking about gold. Yes, fine, go invest in gold, have some portion of your portfolio in gold. But when gold falls, will I keep the faith? Will I rebalance? Will I manage the portfolio? I'm sure you must have seen people come on your television shows. They'll say, if you tell them, can I invest in gold? They'll say 10%. I have 10%. They'll say the standard 10 have 10%. REITs have 10% of REITs. International equity have 10%. There are only 10%, but they'll keep saying 10, have 10% of this and 10% of that. So the point is, the more asset types and more asset classes I add into my portfolio, the harder it is for me to manage it. And even today, people will do anything. They will jump into a well instead of rebalancing their portfolio.
So, what do you mean by rebalancing? Like, so suppose I know a lot of people who bought gold and silver at the peak of this rally, okay, a few months ago, right? Now, gold and silver are both down 20%. So, what is the recommendation to them? When you talk about rebalancing your portfolio, what do you mean?
So for them, yeah. So let's say they had initially 10% allocation. So that would have now gone to 6, 7% or 5% roughly. Do you have the maturity to sell a winner and put it into gold? So the idea of the idea of rebalancing is basically this. It's easier with two asset classes. Let's say you have 50% of equity and 50% of fixed income, and you have decided that that asset allocation aligns with both my risk appetite and my future need. That's how you decide an asset allocation. It should align with your risk appetite as well as your future need. So 50-50. So after a couple of years, you notice that your equity has gone to 60% and your fixed income has gone to 40%. Then you need to reset it. So you need to sell 10% of equity and shift it to fixed income. If you do that, then the volatility in your portfolio, in your entire portfolio, will be kind of lower. You're going to reduce it. Otherwise, it'll be like a untended garden. It's just going to grow helter skelter. It's going to move wherever the market swings. Whichever market swings, the portfolio is going to swing with that. Right? And you don't want that. And the basic idea of rebalancing is to contain the volatility in your portfolio. And sadly, nobody talks about things at the portfolio level. People are always saying, I got 20% return in this stock, 10% return in this asset class, etc., etc., etc. They're always talking piecemeal. They're always looking at small portions of their portfolio and looking at it, analyzing it, over analyzing it. Nobody is willing to take a bird's eye view and look at how the portfolio has moved year on year. And only then will you realize the risk in the portfolio. And then only you'll realize that you have to contain the risk by resetting the asset allocation back to what you want it to be. And that process of resetting is rebalancing, which is hard to do because you need to sell a winner and put it into an asset class which is not doing well relatively.
Correct.
So that's hard to do, but that's where the behavioral challenge lies.
So you don't have much exposure to gold as well, I noticed. Is it
No exposure. No,
no
except
exposure
probably
at all?
I have less than 1% of gold exposure through the ICICI multi-asset fund. I have the
Wow.
multi-asset, which is very less. And
Correct.
what you can see at the back, my wife prefers these black things compared to jewelry. She's a bird photographer, so she would rather buy these rather than get
I was going
herself
to
jewels.
ask you, you have an amazing collection of cameras, by the way. And
That's all
who's
her.
the
That's all hers.
photographer in the family? Now I know it's your
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah, she's the bird photographer, and she would rather be, invest in a lens or get herself a new camera rather than buy a gold chain or whatever. So, that's good. So I don't have. I mean, my only argument is you can have all the asset classes you want, but ask yourself, why do you want it? Most of the time it will be FOMO. Most of the time you want it because everybody is talking about it and it has done well, better than what you already are holding, and that's the only reason you want it. And you should tell yourself, okay, you buy now, but the cycle will change. There will be a time when the Indian equity markets will outshine the US market at some point, maybe for a few months, maybe for a year, nobody knows. At that point in time, will you still show the faith in the international exposure, in gold, in commodities? That is the problem that most people are not able to commit themselves to. They don't see, once they see the bull run, it's they believe it will never come down, and that's the starting point of disaster. I That's very, very wrong mindset to start with.
No, fair, fair. And I think it's not just FOMO, right? I think a large part of investing is behavioral. It's how you have a mindset towards investing. It just doesn't start and end with an SIP. It's a lot of the behavioral patterns that you grow up with, that, whether it's chasing desire, avoiding pain, avoiding fear, all of that comes together in the stock markets in a very beautiful way. And I wanted to understand from you in terms of when you build a mindset towards investing or building a corpus for yourself, where and I want to go back to I think in 2006 you had an issue where you had your father's accident, and that's when you sort of realized that, oh, you need to get into personal finance and sort your finances out. How did you build that behavioral mindset to kind of build a corpus for yourself? Because as they say, personal finance is very personal, right? But not too many people follow that.
Yeah, so I think the biggest struggle that or the toughest time that I've had was between 2008 to 2013. I started my SIP journey in 2008, and that was the time when the crash was happening. It was in the middle of the crash. I didn't know anything. I was not following the markets. I knew nothing about it. Uh, the thing was, for the first 5 years, my returns were zero. It was absolutely zero. It was always red. Every time I looked at the portfolio, it was red. It was red. And at that time, my family was not too enthusiastic about me continuing in equity. I told them about it, and they were said, just put it in FD. Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to the thing is that at that point, somehow, I don't know how it happened. I was able to logically think that, look, I don't need the money today because my retirement age is 65. I was at that point in time, it was about 28 years, 30 years away, nearly 30 years away. So I told him I don't need it anytime soon. So let me just wait. Let me just wait it out. And for some reason, I don't know, in hindsight, maybe it's just luck. I was able to invest more and more and more and more. So I was able to push, I would say, nearly 15 to 20% increase in my investments every year. The monthly investment, I was able to increase that by 15 to 20%. And when the bull run came, late 2013, early 2014, shortly I had an extra zero in my portfolio. So that was a big change. I mean, that was a life changing moment. That's when I realized that's how equity markets are going to be. There's going to be years and years of nothing, where it'll severely test your patience, right? It's like Odysseus caught on an island before going home. It's that kind of thing. You never know when you're going to go home, but when the ship's going to start sailing again. But you have to show the patience there, and then your life will change. So again, for young people today who are going through this sideways market, this is the best time for them to invest. If they invest, when the markets do turn, I'm sure their life will change. And I am so happy that because of Freefincal, I have had the pleasure of interacting with 100 plus crores. People who become crores just by investing in SIPs.
Wow.
uh, I have so many stories. I have like 100 plus reader stories, and many of them don't want their reader stories published. It's all private, and I have so many people. They've all become crores, and they know once they've gone through that bad phase and good phase. Then once they've gone through this full cycle, they know that this is how it's going to be, and you have to be patient. So the
So,
patience is the miss.
is it possible for someone to build generational wealth for themselves using mutual funds?
That's tough. You know how that's possible? I learned about it in a very hard way. See, I was born in a big mansion uh, in Chennai. That mansion was purchased by my great grandfather, right? And he was in a big, one of the biggest. What is this? Forget the central excise kind of office. The Indian, I mean, it was in British India, so Indians can only progress so much. So he had one of the biggest offices, and he purchased that house. And I lived there until my eighth standard. So like I was, well, what, 14, 15 years ago. And after that, I saw the people in my family. I still live in a joint family. I live in a flat now, but my other members of the joint family are in other flats. We still are practically a joint family. But I realized that I asked myself, why didn't we stay in that house? Or why did our lifestyle decrease? And the reason for that was the people in subsequent generations, they did not earn as much as my great grandfather did. So when the income goes down, then no matter how much you invest, you cannot handle it. The only way to build generational wealth is when you have a platform for your children. You invest well and you create a wealth for yourself. You become financially independent, and of course, and you have a little bit extra corpus so that they have a little bit of runway. So they're not forced to uh, go to a job after school or just after a UG degree. So they can they can dream, or they can follow their passion, or create a business, create an enterprise where they can follow
Keep
in
a
your.
risk. Yeah.
Yes. But that's not there in many cultures. There are very, very few cultures in India. There are pockets in India where the next generation automatically do it without any kind of initiation. They'll be doing. But today, if you there are other cultures where they look at the parents and they say, I will do anything except what my parents do for a career. Right? So generational wealth is hard to build with mutual funds or with even stocks, unless you are really you've earned a lot and your cash flow is so much that you've built like 40 crores, 50 crores, and then the next generation can manage it. Even if they're not able to add to it, they can manage it properly, and then there's at least for 2 generations it can sustain with some proper investing. But the usual kind of generational wealth will be very hard to build. I had dreams of it. To be honest, I had dreams of it. I still dream of it at the back of my mind, but I realized it's very, 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 very hard, because if the next guy is going to do something completely different, because if my son is going to do completely different from what I'm doing, because I mean, to be honest, I've had dreams of my son taking over Freefincal for me, right? And then building a bit, because Freefincal is reasonably okay at a reasonably good place now. I've had dreams of, but he doesn't want to do it. It's not his passion. So if he's got to find his own calling, he's gonna chart his own course, and that's basically going to be a reset. If you are going to reset your the generational timeline ever so often, then the wealth will not build. It won't hold so much. That's
So
unfortunately.
also the reason I'm asking, fair point, but the reason I'm asking you this is because what differentiates people who are stuck with money compared to people who eventually get financial freedom? Like, what are the 2 or 3 things that differentiates these people? If the privileges are the same, if the same social infrastructure, same, background, etc.
I would say the willingness to sacrifice. See, for example, there is this notion that people in IIT, at least the students in IIT, they're more intelligent. That's not true, right? The students in IIT, they're there because they have decided at a very young age that they're willing to sacrifice their time, energy, sweat, blood, and work for that JE and cross that barrier. Whereas the other students don't want to push themselves as much. This is a just general. Well, there's an interest-based thing. That's a different thing. But these kids really push themselves hard to get cross the JE barrier. That doesn't make them intelligent. They're just willing to work hard. So the same analogy here is, I think there must be some element of sacrifice involved if you want to push yourself to the next level early on. If you want to become, for this, let's say you're upper middle class, if you want to go to the next tier in society or whatever you want to call that, then if you want to do it early, then there must be some element of sacrifice. The problem is, if you tell people that you need to sacrifice things, that means spend less, you are going to come in for a lot of criticism. You can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's not going to happen. If you want to spend like there's no tomorrow, then there will be a tomorrow, and that's a problem. So you need to find the balance. Either you do 2 things. One, you find the balance between spending for your wants today versus investing for at least your needs tomorrow. That balance should be there. If you or you sacrifice your wants today and invest more, and you get your needs early, you get to a financial independence earlier, and then after that you can probably relax a little bit and enjoy a little bit of life. So you must sacrifice something, and that must come from within. It should not, see, if you do it, if you tell yourself I want this, then it will not look like sacrifice. It will not feel like sacrifice. If I tell you to do it, it will feel like sacrifice. If you tell yourself, then it won't feel like sacrifice.
Okay. So, just some final questions before we wrap up this discussion. What does financial independence actually mean to you? Because I do know that you are financially independent. You are working because you enjoy working. And that's something I've read before as well. So, what does financial independence mean to you? And what is its importance in your life?
It gives you a lot of options. It gives you a lot of options, and it has given me the ability to change people's lives, other people's lives. For example, the watchman in my society, or the attender who takes care of my mom. I can change their life. I can eliminate their debt. I can take care of their hospital bills. I can pay for their children's education and so on. So it's basically the kind of thing like where you teach a person to fish instead of giving them the fish, and that kind of analogy. So the money has given me the bandwidth to change people's lives. Hopefully in a small way, but that I think I enjoy that the most, more than anything else.
Do you enjoy the perks that come with having money, which is, has your lifestyle moved up in a certain way where perhaps earlier could not afford, say, buying I don't know, maybe a business class ticket, for example, just giving you an example. And now maybe once you've reached a stage, you do that? Or do you still live that frugal lifestyle that you had maybe 20 years ago?
That frugal lifestyle is just hammered into me. It's hammered into my wife as well, and it's double hammered into my son. We did nothing about it, and he can't spend. I mean, he can't. He gets so guilty. I ask him to fill the Amazon card with whatever he wants. He will put one or two things and delete it later because he says it's too expensive. I don't want anything.
But isn't that a problem? Because I find that an issue with a lot of people who are self-made and who've built wealth for themselves, that they just can't spend. And that actually is an issue, because then you just keep hoarding and keep compounding, and you find it hard to part with money. And that's a different kind of money trauma, right?
Probably, but I don't think I have that. See, but there's a lot of people out there who believe that I don't know how to enjoy my life. They don't know anything about me, but they have. That doesn't stop them from not
Assuming.
judging. Yeah, I do enjoy my life, but I don't enjoy my life. I don't know. I don't wear fancy clothes. It's just something that I don't like. I like to keep a very low profile, but I do travel in great comfort when I do travel, and I like to I overspend. I like to overtip people or overpay people. So I spend a lot of money. Spending is not a problem for me, but I don't spend it on myself, right? I just don't know how to do it. I don't need it. That's my point. I see the problem is there are many people who feel deprived if you tell them not to spend too much. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't. So what can I do? I don't have that. If you give me, if you tell me to buy something expensive, I don't know what to buy. This is a conversation I've had with my wife. I asked her, I give you 10 lakhs. What will you do? She thought long and hard and said, I don't know. You answer first. And said, I don't know what to do. I'll just put it in a bank. So it's a mindset.
That's a
It's
great
like,
problem to have.
great problem
Not
to have.
knowing what to do with your money.
Yes, it's a great problem to have. So which is why I think I'm more comfortable trying to help others. And if I want something, I go and buy it. See, I mean, I own very expensive computers. We have expensive cameras out there. We have very expensive equipment. We don't buy it often. That's the only thing. We buy it every once in a while, so it doesn't affect our cash flow much. So,
Correct,
and it
correct.
doesn't look like we are spending too much. So it's it's me. I'm contented. That's the point. It doesn't matter
That's
what.
the magic, right? That's the magic. If you're content, then you don't really need to
See,
increase your lifestyle along with your income.
See, the way my goals are very simple. You've seen dogs lying in the park in the sun, right? They bask in the sun. That's what I want to do. No, I want to sleep. I want to sleep most of my life off. I'm fine with it. Maybe it's not. It's ambition is not something that I have, but I mean, I don't know. It's a poor way of living. Maybe I don't know.
Why? No, I mean, it's your choice. Even to sleep, you need money. Like, you need money which can buy you time, and then with which you can go and sleep in a park for the entire day, right? Because a lot of people who are, say, corporate slaves, for example, they don't have that luxury.
No, that's the problem. See, that is the difference between an academic job and a corporate job. So that there the priorities change. In a corporate job, you want more money, but you have to give up your time.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you can do. There's only for you can do that only for so much time. Then your health takes a toll, and then you have to slow down. You can't slow down at the time because you'll have a home loan running. Everything will pull you down. So it's a big problem. So I think that's where I think we should ask our children to live slower lives. I think we should slow down the pace of our lifestyle. If we do that, then I think you don't need so much money to fuel the lifestyle. You just slow down the pace of your life, then you're happy, you're contented, and you don't need so much money as well.
You don't need that 40 crore corpus that.
Maybe even 10 crores. We don't know. I think that's important, but technology has taken a hold of our lives. That's the big sad point.
Yeah.
You can't ask the young generation not to do anything for 1 hour. Ask them to do nothing for 1 hour. Just simply sit. Just look at people, watch people going back and forth. Just watch the vehicles. They won't be able to do it because there's so much of anxiety and restlessness around that. uh, we can't live without technology. That's the problem, because many people, when you give them this multi-crore examples, they say, oh, my grandparents lived with only so much money and they were happy. My parents never bought, they were happy. That's a different generation. They did not have so much tech. We have so much tech. We can't live without tech. Yes, we can't live without that tech now. So it's a big problem. I don't know the solutions to it, but there is a problem. Yeah.
But it was really nice speaking to you, and I didn't realize how 1 hour has passed, but it has. So we have come to the end of our conversation, Professor Pattu. Thank you so much for your time. I also wanted to ask you, if someone is building a portfolio today, right, in 2026, someone who's say in their 20s, their early 30s, they're building for retirement, how would you construct it? How much of it would be in, say, Nifty 50? How much in Nifty Next 50? How much in, say, active versus passive, other asset classes? What would your ideal portfolio construct be?
So first the asset allocation. I think you should first decide on the asset allocation, only then the products. And that's something that's the biggest mistake people do. People always buy the products and try to fit them to goals. And I think you should buy the products last in your goal planning process. It's a very last part. So you should decide how much equity are you going to handle. Are you going to handle 70% of equity, 30% of fixed income, or do you want a little bit less equity and you want to add gold into it? Do you want to add international equity in your equity allocation? What are you going to do? So first of all, that mapping should be there. But I would say the simplest way to build a portfolio would be to have 50 to 60% of an Indian index fund. That can be a Nifty 100, Nifty 50, Nifty 500, depending on your whatever you want to choose. And the rest can be your EPF if you have EPF, and you don't need anything else for retirement. If you just these two asset classes, if you invest in these two like a machine for the next 15-20 years, you have a very good chance of getting towards that multi-crore target that we keep talking about for retirement. And the biggest advantage is that this portfolio needs no maintenance. You need to only spend about 15 to 30 minutes, maybe even 50 minutes once a year. That's all. You track how much you're investing. You forget about the markets. Every lunchtime, or everybody's swiping their phones to see, opening their apps to see what the market is doing. Don't do all that. Don't control what you can control. You cannot control the return that markets are going to give you. You have no say in it. But you have a say in how much you're spending. You have a say in how much you are earning, how much you're investing. A little bit of a say, not complete say. But you focus on what you can control and track the investments that you make and increase your investments every year. If you do that, a very simple portfolio, which means I would say you focus your time on leisure. I think leisure is the biggest, the most premium commodity in today's life. It is not money, it's leisure, where you're completely relaxed. You enjoy time with your family, and you have time to think about your life and spend at least 30 minutes thinking about your life. What do you want your life to be? Jeff Bezos says, have a 30-year view of your life. Think of your life. What will you be when you're 60? What do you want to achieve in life? Make a list. Think of what you can, how to get there slowly, small steps, baby steps. And if you do that, then you can live a fulfilling life. I think health is very important. Relationships are more important. Money, once you set the initial wheels rolling, you can put the personal finance into the back burner, and everything else, it's an autopilot. You don't care about it, and you focus on what's in front of you. Your relationships in front of you, your health is in front of you, your time is in front of you. Focus on that.
Okay, well, very well said, and very wise words. Thank you so much. Hopefully, I do know that you're in Chennai and you're looking after your mom as well. So you couldn't be here in Bombay to record this physically in person. But hopefully very soon, once she's better, maybe if you can, travel or we can travel, we'll have that in-person meeting.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor.